very girl voice. All right. Welcome to the Sheriff's Forum. We have 5 candidates for the primary on October. Other chores, other time. Thank you. You all know it's August 14th, right? You saw the sign out there. It says August 14th. Friends, standing room only from here on. That's occupied, right? Not now. Not now? Okay, we have 1 chair. To the highest bidder? Okay, all right. This is being sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Greater Chippewa Valley. We are a fairly young chapter of League of Women Voters of Wisconsin. We are about 1 year old. And this is by far the biggest turnout we have had.
The heat is on those ventilators. I don't know who to tell about it. Shut it off.
Hello? Oh, it works. No, it was on. It was on. Come on.
The heat is on in this room.
There is heat coming in there because it's part of the system that dries the air, but there is also cooling, and it really does work even though it sounds crazy. I had it explained to me.
Okay, so rest easy. We're generating enough heat here for the next few months. So, okay, the table over here is sign up. If you haven't signed up and you'd like to be on our mailing list, you may. It's over here.
If you sit there, it's going to ruin
membership,
all my photography.
we have Brenda Harrison. Brenda, yell. Where are you?
If you lean against the table.
Brenda is here. There she is over there under Voter Services Greater Chippewa Valley. She is one of the 2 chair of our voter services. We hold voter registration training, and we appear to help people register. One of the sites that you can go to register yourself is https://myvote.wi.org. It's repeated over here, probably a little more legible. It answers all the questions that you have about registration, about your vote, your polling place, wherever. There are other questions that you will probably have, and the league treasurer, Nancy, where are you?
Back here.
Okay, I heard her voice, there she is, will be handing out some slips for the other sites. There aren't enough to go around for everybody, but if you really would like more information, there is a lot of information at these sites. Okay, the candidates, as you can see, are sitting up front. We have Jacob Oman, Kevin Biggt. He's going to get a vowel pretty soon, but right now he's Adam Zerkowski, Randy Knack, and Rodney Dykus. You will be hearing a lot more from them later. The format is everyone is eligible to ask questions. There are no questions taken orally. They will all be written. You should have received a card as you came in the door, or if you don't, hold your hand up and you will be passed a card. And you can, when you have your card filled in, you hold it up and somebody will come and get it from you and include it in the circulation of questions that will be granted the candidates. Excuse me. Ellen Oakes, we have some starter questions. Ellen Oakes is the vice president in charge of forums. I am Kits Cleary, the co-president of the League of Women Voters Greater Chippewa Valley. So I think with that, she will give you the timing and the rules. And speaking directly to the candidates, we're very pleased to have you here. Very pleased. We want you to know that. And obviously there's a lot of interest. Can I untangle you?
Okay, so the rules that these gentlemen have agreed to beforehand will be that they each get 3 minutes to speak to you to begin with, and then they'll be answering your questions the questions that you're writing on the pieces of paper. So you can even be doing that writing now, and you can put your hand up with your piece of paper, and it will be picked up. There are people who will go around and get your questions from you. Okay? And we have people sorting those questions out because some of you will ask the same question. And that's fine. Also, we probably can't answer every single question because that would be midnight. We would be leaving. So we will do our best to group them into categories and pick questions that have a broad range. Each gentleman can answer the question. If you have directed it to one of the candidates, that's excellent. That person answers it first when the question comes in, and then everybody else takes a turn if they wish to. They don't have to answer the question. So 3 minutes to start with from each of the candidates. Questions, answers are 2 minutes long, and we do have a timer right here, so you might get some laughter over that when she holds up the 30-second sign.
Here's the 30-second sign.
Yeah, stop sign, right. And at the end, each person will have each candidate will have a chance to speak again for up to 3 minutes. So that's the layout. Does that make sense?
Yep.
A question?
Stand up with their names because we can't see their faces.
Oh, very good. We'll do that. Jacob Ullman.
And hold up your name too.
Kevin Big. Adam Zukowski. Randy Knack. Rodney Dykus. Now they're sitting in this order because we already had them draw lots to see who gets to speak first. And we do have, see, I think I've taken one of your microphones, yes. This one goes down here. Turning that off just for the moment. Good. Over to you, Jacob. 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming out and thank the League of Women Voters as well for putting this on. I really do appreciate it, and I do like the interest that I see from the county in this position. A little bit about me. I'm from Dunn County originally. I grew up down by Downsville. I went to school in Durand. I had a herd of 46 Holsteins that I milked for a while. I sold them when I got promoted at work. I was a manager for about 3.5 years where I had about 40 people working for me. Now currently I have my own small business that I run. I sell firearms, sporting goods, other accessories for hunting related. I went to school in Durand and now I'm in UW Stout finishing up my degree there in business administration. I participated in an Army ROTC program as well as an Air Force ROTC program. And I guess I'm looking to bring a fresh perspective into the department, kind of some new blood, if you were, to kind of make sure that the department's kind of going the direction we want it to and that we have a good representation of the people of the county in that sheriff's department. So thank you all again for coming out. I'm 27. Am I not supposed to answer questions?
Hi, I'm Kevin Big. I'm the A Republican candidate for the position of Sheriff of Dunn County. I'm currently the captain of field services at the Sheriff's Office. I've been married to my wife Sadie for 21 years and we have 3 beautiful daughters. I've worked hard for the Sheriff's Office for 29 years. I was hired as a jailer dispatcher when I was 19 years old. I worked as a jailer, dispatcher, and reserve deputy for 5 years. In 1994, I was hired as a patrol deputy for the Sheriff's Office. I worked as a deputy for 11 years. During that time, I became a firearms instructor and use of force instructor. I handled the civil process, evictions, repos, and stuff for 3 of those years. I taught at Chippewa Valley Technical College for 3 years in their firearms and use of force program and became a taser instructor. I was promoted to patrol sergeant in 2005. As a patrol sergeant, I was a shift commander, handled all of the patrol scheduling, continued as a firearms and taser instructor wrote policy, completed deputy evaluations, and became a master instructor for TASER. In 2013, I was promoted to captain of field services. As captain of field services, I run the law enforcement side of the sheriff's office. There's a captain on the jail side as well. I'm the third in command at the sheriff's office behind the sheriff and the chief deputy. I continue to do the patrol scheduling. I manage a fleet of about 30 squad cars, all of the equipment in them, and the people that drive them. I supervise 4 sergeants currently. I'm the highway safety coordinator for Dunn County. I'm the chair of the Dunn County Safe Schools Committee, Alice instructor for safe schools, churches, and businesses, and I assist in preparing our annual budget. I oversee the reserve deputy program, process payroll for all the staff, represent the sheriff's office and crisis stakeholders meeting for mental health, and along with many other administrative tasks. I've been working hard for safe schools, improving our mental health services, focusing on staff, focusing to staff our meth problem. Have directed my patrol staff to do school walkthroughs while they're on patrol, helped implement safer practices in our schools, wrote letters of support to the Attorney General to allow for grant funding to go to our local schools. I work with mental health services to try and improve those services for people in need. We have a new ambitious deputy assigned to our drug investigator position now, who is already starting to make an impact on our meth issue. I'm the only candidate in this race with any law enforcement management training and experience. I've been in a leadership role for 13 years, and that's what makes me the best candidate for the Dunn County Sheriff's position.
Good evening. My name is Adam Zukowski. Tonight I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and why I am the best candidate for the Dunn County Sheriff's Office. I was born in Milwaukee, and I was to immigrant parents. I'm the youngest of 3 children. Both my parents immigrated to the United States from Poland. After graduating Pius High School in 1990, I came to Menominee and attended UW Stout. I immediately fell in love with the area. After suffering personal tragedy on October 31st of '91 during the blizzard, the loss of 4 of my roommates, I decided I could not continue at UW Stout and tried several other avenues. I decided to pursue a career in law enforcement. I was hired in 1995 as a reserve deputy with Dunn County. I also met my future wife, Mary Steyer, at the time. I put many unpaid hours into the sheriff's office trying to gain experience. Mary's brothers at Elf Lawn Farm hired me and taught me how to do chores and milk cows. The only time I've been close to cows previously was at the Wisconsin State Fair. I thoroughly enjoyed milking and working with the animals, but I still wanted to be in law enforcement. I continued to work at the farm, and along with 3 other law enforcement jobs I had worked. After I married Mary in 1997, I went through the Wyoming Highway Patrol process. I was one of 16 hired out of over 300 applicants. In 1998, I attended the 6-month-long academy and received the best training the state had to offer. The agency was very proactive on leadership and preparedness. I was voted by my peers to represent them as motor carrier, or at the level of at the Wyoming Highway Patrol Association. I was promoted to the motor carrier division position and received extensive training in the area of commercial vehicle enforcement and federal regulations. In 2004, I returned and was hired full-time with the Dunn County Sheriff's Office. During my time here for almost 15 years, I've gained leadership again with my peers. I've been voted by my fellow deputies to lead the Deputies Association with the county, and I've bargained many contracts with the county. I've always bargained with foresight and fiscal responsibility. The deputies in the county are taxpayers as well, and we do not like seeing high property taxes. I am currently a patrol deputy and appointed as humane officer of the county and investigate serious cases involving animals. I've obtained lots of training, as my opponent and I are both qualified. I've also volunteered for many hours at the 4-H and FFA. I again was elected to chairman of the Meat Animal Committee for the Dunn County 4-H. I've completed another successful year of educating our youth and raising livestock projects and had a successful auction at the Dunn County Fair. I also coach the 4-H livestock. All right, that's fine.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Knack, Mayor of Menominee. I grew up right up the road as a farm kid. I'm married with 2 grown children. Had the opportunity of being in 4-H and voice choir. I was runner-up in the state 4-H speak-off contest way back when the lady took my speech and beat me in the end. But I've had a lot of good experiences growing up on the Mabel Tainer stage and attending voice choir and singing in 2 barbershop quartets, Chips. In fact, my voice is a little bit rough today because we did a show 7 days long, so Music Man, so excuse my voice tonight. However, I've had some really good experiences in Menominee, Wisconsin. I spent 6 years on the school board. With that, I had the ability with Gina Doms to help save both country schools, Knapp and Downsville, which was quite a chore. The administration at that time wanted to eliminate those schools. We had to go to battle and fight for those schools. So Knapp and Downsville, with the help of Gina Doms and other school board members, are still alive today, and I think that's wonderful. I am also currently the mayor of Menominee. I've spent nearly 10 years as mayor. I've been re-elected for 5 terms. In that time, I've surrounded myself with amazing people. The first 2 years were kind of rough. You know, I ended up vetoing the city council a couple times, and we just couldn't get, you know, we couldn't gel. But once we got things moving and we all started to pull the rope in the same directions, it was amazing. Our lake is being cleaned as we speak. We've got our 2nd dredging operation going on now. Wolski's Bay no longer smells. We have over hundreds of people now working on the lake. The TMDLA, Tainer Menominee Lake Association, UW Stout. The people up in Chetek now say, if Menominee can do it, we can do it too. I have kind of an interesting story. When I was about 17, I was kind of a rambunctious teenager, and Corky Spangletti caught us racing cars at Dunville Bottom. Well, we parked our cars, he drove us home. He had a word with my father. I could tell he wasn't very happy with me. I would have much rather have a ticket. However, with that being said, I was a perfect child ever since. We no longer took the Cadillac down to Dunville Bottoms and race. In fact, Corky Spangletti got me hooked up with John Canta and put me on his race crew, pit crew. And I thought that was a great experience, and what great mentoring that was. And so from that point forward, I always thought if I ever had the opportunity to run for sheriff, I'd want to be the same kind of sheriff as Corky Spangletti was. You know, really a conduit to the community. And what's happened is I've gained a lot of political clout down in Madison. My son went to school in Madison for 4 years, so I spent a lot of time at the Capitol. And what my biggest concern is we need to do something about meth. Meth has really gotten bad, and we don't, the people in this room have no idea how bad it really is. I have the political clout and the wherewithal to make a difference. And these are all fine gentlemen. I mean, they would all be great sheriffs. I would like to be an exceptional sheriff. I want to be that conduit that people can come to. Right now, I'm ahead of the complaint department at the mayor's office. Really. People come in and they complain to me all the time about certain things. We get it done. We helped with many things. The downtown restoration. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Pull it off again. Hi, I'm Rod Dykes. Before I forget this, I'd like to thank the Women's League voters here for allowing us to come. Also, before I get this, do we have any veterans in the crowd? Raise your hand. Will you stand up, please? Stand up. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for your service. A little bit about me. I grew up on a family farm up in Ladysmith, Wisconsin. I was one of 8 children, the 5th child. My folks instilled in me at an early age to work hard, be honest, and have integrity. After finishing high school, I went to Mount St. Anne College, where I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and as well as played some sports there while I was there. I married my wife, Linda, of 26 years. I have 2 adult children. One is a speech therapist at Mayo. My son's finishing up at Stout. And we live in the Elk Mound area, and I'm one member of the Trinity Lutheran Church. I started here in 1986 as a jailer dispatcher. Worked that for about 3.5 years. I then worked the patrol division for approximately 18 years. In that, I worked a year of civil service process. Then, the last approximately 11 or 12 years, I've been in the investigation division, where I do the DARE in the schools as an instructor. And I also am in investigations primarily in child protection. I do all general crimes also. I'm also a CSO in the community, and I've seen a lot of you around, getting out in the community and talking with people and being part of the tobacco compliance checks, also working with Arbor Place, United Way. Probably seen, well, we were all out at the fair this weekend, but usually out at the fair. So, and throughout my life, I've worked with a lot of youth. I think it's important to give back, and thank you for all coming tonight.
Well, that's a very good, is this live?
Yeah.
That's a very good introduction to the candidates for this election. Now, do we have some questions to start with?
Piece of paper for the question.
They are here.
I just pulled one out of the middle. And I think we'll take it.
Speak into the mic.
It's not working here?
Just get close.
I have to eat this mic, okay. All right, so we'll start again. If the question is not directed to a particular candidate to begin with, I'll kind of go down the line. So we'll start with Jacob. Describe several ways the Sheriff's Department can work more effectively with the Menominee Police Department and Stout Police Department. Sure.
Okay, well, to answer that, I've gone around from township to township, from Sand Creek to O'Galley and everywhere in between, and I haven't spoken with the Menominee Chief of Police, but I have spoken with UW Stout Police and Colfax Police Department, and the working relationship, by their comments, between them and the Dunn County Sheriff's Department is a very good working relationship. They're a phone call or a radio call away, and I really do think that that's a good system that we have. So realistically, at this point, from what I've seen and what I've heard from the actual policing force on the Colfax and UW Stout side, that they are very satisfied with how well we work with them. So as of right now, I don't see there can be much of an improvement.
All right. Shut it off on me here. Jacob's right. We have a good working relationship with the Menominee Police Department, UW Stout, and we do several things together. Alcohol compliance. We work homecoming with them. I usually have a few reserves that go work with them. Some of the full timers when they need additional staffing during major events and things like that. I think the sheriff and the chief work pretty well together. They're community, several things together throughout the way they work, CJCC, things like that. I guess I don't know their personal relationship, but Dunn County Sheriff's Office and Menominee Police Department, I think, work pretty well together. It seems to be that sometimes there's some riff at the top, but the guys on the street work just fine together. When they need help, they get help, and vice versa. So.
Anyone else want to answer that question?
As a patrol deputy, we frequently work together with the Menominee Police Department. Stout, somewhat if they request assistance, but primarily Menominee Police. I do have a plan, I guess, to look at setting up a task force just within Dunn County if I'm elected sheriff, assigning a couple patrol deputies. If Menominee Police would also do the same, I think we could build a large enough team, and not just Menominee and Stout. We could look at Boyceville, maybe assigning an officer and assisting us in Colfax and Elk Mound, and as all these cities and villages get together, I think we could work together as a cohesive unit to take care of our meth problem in all the communities throughout Dunn County.
Thank you. I'll be really brief. I echo everybody's comments. Our Chief of Police, Eric Atkinson, has done an outstanding job for the city of Menominee, and it's become a community-based policing system. I applaud him and his actions. I know he's worked close with the Sheriff's Department and the Stout people. We have an interjurisdictional agreement, meaning that if any of those need help, the others all will be at their beck and need. So I think it's a good working relationship, and I think that it's a great outfit what they've got going at the moment. So.
I'd reiterate what they all said here being on the end, but Chief Atkinson is a very community-oriented individual. I've had the pleasure of talking with him. And the working relationship with both departments is what it takes to keep the community safe and really come together. And I think I've been here through a few chiefs and a few sheriffs, and I think it's the best it's been since I've been here. So it's a really good working relationship.
Okay, next question. And this time we're going to start. This time we're going to start with Kevin and work down and get Jacob last. What specific ideas do you have for controlling the meth and drug problems in the area?
Well, first of all, we need to have somebody in the position. We have a deputy that works with West Central Drug Task Force, also a partner with Menominee police officer. The two of those gentlemen work together with West Central Drug Task Force to focus on if we have a case going in Dunn County, they can grab 7-8 guys from Chippewa, Dunn, Eau Claire, all over the region to help out. But specifically keeping somebody in the position that's active and ambitious and hard charger. The deputy we have in there currently is just that, and he's already making an impact and working some good cases. We also need to work the angle from the property crimes because meth and property crimes go hand in hand. If we solve a meth case, we solve 5 or 6 burglaries meanwhile. And other property crimes. So we need to work it from that angle. If we solve a burglary, half the time we solve a meth case as well. 90% of our property crimes, I'm estimating 90% of our property crimes are meth related, and we need to hit it from every angle we possibly can.
Again, to deal with the meth problem, as I stated before, my plan would be to set up a task force, a couple patrol guys to go out and do interdiction and assist the investigators as well with getting information and finding these low-level street people that are the users and provide us intelligence to find the dealers and so on and so forth. Going into that, again, like Kevin says, along with the meth problem comes property crime. We can start taking care of our meth problem. And a lot of our property crime, they swing in the same cycles. Also with that, mental health. With using meth causes a chemical imbalance for some of these people. And after they get off the meth, they need help with mental health and becoming stable and stabilizing them. Again, with the Justice Collaboration Council, working with them and all the groups that are involved, the judges, the district attorney's office, human services, involving all these groups to help resolve this issue, get people help that want help, having them earn their way to get help and help us solve the problem together as a community that we can get this taken care of.
Okay, thank you. I would agree with that. However, I have a little to add to that. 18 years ago or so, I flew to Hawaii to pick up a friend of mine who was on meth. We brought him back. We gave him a job, a place to live, and a new chance at life. And I experienced firsthand what meth really does to a person. Since then, we've had up to 20 employees at a time, some of them into meth. We have taken meth people, which can be an ordinary, common person, a really good person, could be on meth until it starts to destroy their lives. And we have taken meth heads into our homes. We've rehabilitated them, my wife and I. We've also taken homeless people into our homes. There's a lot more we could do. I think the system currently is broken. I would like to go to Madison and implement new policies and procedures and new laws to make a difference. It has to be done. Barron County right now is #1 meth county in the state, and guess what county is right next door? Dunn County. It's time to really wake up. I see it as the mayor's office sees it. I know that these gentlemen see it. I don't think the general community has an idea how bad it really is. In fact, there's employers right now that don't even drug test anymore because they cannot get employees anymore that will test clean. What is that telling you? It's serious. It's a lot serious than anybody makes. And I'm the one person that can really get down there in Madison and hustle. I've got really good contacts down there. I would really like to make a difference. That's my #1 goal, is to chase after meth. My #1 goal to chase after when I first became mayor was the lake. We've got a lot of people going on that. Now it's meth in Dunn County. I've accomplished 18 of my 20 goals in the city of Menominee. It's time for somebody else to take over as mayor and accomplish their goals. My goal would be the best sheriff Dunn County has ever had and put us on the map wiping out meth. Thank you.
I would go down that road again with these guys. Having the highway information between all agencies and getting that information out there, I think finding where the sources are and the dealers is something that has to be dealt with pretty strongly. I'm going to go and approach it another way. I think some of you may know where I might go with this. If we really want to work on it, I think we get out in front of it. And how we get out in front of it is we get in the schools and we talk to these kids when they're 5th, 7th, 9th grade. Give them the information to make decisions. And I'm not talking about just going into school and giving them a curriculum, putting a piece of paper in front of them and saying this is what it is. You got to show them, you got to give them options, and you got to give them ways to get out of it. There's a lot of families out there that are stricken with this stuff, but there's a lot of good families. There's a lot of good staff in the schools. And the thing is, if you get it early, you don't have to deal with it on the backside. It's going to be there, it's not going away. But I think if you really want to make an impact, start with them when they're young, and then have all the programs in order if they're having problems or getting arrested. So that's how I would approach it.
Jacob?
So agreeing with Randy, I'm part of that community, and I really didn't know how bad meth was until I started campaigning about a couple months ago. I have knocked on over 3,000 doors and spoke with a lot of people, and it is the #1 issue that I am hearing from you guys, all the way, like I said, from Oak Alley to Sand Creek. And you know, talking with a lot of people, talking with a lot of people, I'm very interested to see what the statistics are between the DARE program and our meth issue that we have growing in our county. I want to look at these programs that we currently have and ensure that they are working in the right direction, and as well as bridging the gap between our Dunn County Sheriff's Department and the locals. Speaking with some gentlemen up in Sand Creek, they say that it's very rare that they see deputies or the sheriff himself, and I want to make sure that we're getting out to those key spots, like whether it's 9 a.m. where they're having breakfast up in Sand Creek, or if it's 7 in the morning in the Knapp Community Hall where they're having coffee, because the people in the community, the people know what goes on in their towns. A lot of these people live there a long time, and they know what goes on, and they just need that extra little bit of incentive to actually, you know, have a conversation with somebody, because, you know, more often than not, somebody might see something that's going on in their town, and yeah, maybe not, but if the sheriff's making an effort, or the county department or sheriff's department's getting around and talking to people, they might just make that call, or they might just bring that up so that we can address these issues. I mean, there's only about 50 deputies on the force that are out patrolling, and we need your guys' help too.
Okay, now this next question will be for Adam Zukowski, and we'll go down the road from Adam. Dunn County has adopted collaborative, evidence-based criminal justice as a priority initiative in its directional plan. This is reflected in the county's commitment to its Criminal Justice Collaboration Council, CJCC, and associated programs, including treatment court, treatment alternatives, and diversion, and jail to community re-entry. The success of this requires active participation and cooperation from the sheriff. Please describe your experience with and disposition toward smart justice, diversion programs and practices, and collaboration between criminal justice and human service agencies.
Well, we were all invited to a meeting a week ago with the Justice Collaboration Council. Some of us showed up and attended to hear what they had to say. I think it's a work in progress. I think it's a fluid, areas we can do better in, try to find different ways to get people the help they need. It is crucial that all the players come to the table so we're doing things correctly together. And it is going to require the sheriff and the deputies and the jail staff and the police department and all our agencies in the county to work in that same direction. We need to work as a group to resolve this. The judges, all the county agencies that you can think of, human services, is strictly involved. We have kids that are involved in this, the mental health for both kids and adults that are involved in all this. We see it all the time. And I think, the alternative sentencing, if we can get people better and get them off meth, that is the goal that this county should have.
Good. I echo everybody's thoughts on this, except I'd just like to add, I did go to the meeting the other day, and I was very impressed with what I heard. However, it is a work in progress, and there's so much more to be done. And so many more community members need to be involved in these programs. They need mentors, and they need a positive reinforcement. Myself, I've spent time with these individuals. I've mentored them one-on-one, and that takes time. The judges don't have time for this, and the police officers, of course, don't have time for this. The community people, we as community people, we need to get involved, more involved heavily in that. So if you've got a chance to go to a Justice Collaboration Council meeting or anything of that nature, please attend those meetings, get more involved. Everybody needs your help. So I'll turn it over to Rod.
Thanks. I would echo that too. Ironically, I was unable to attend. I was out with a female who had OD'd, and when you get to those places, you realize that this kind of stuff is very helpful. We still got to work together. But when you walk up there and you have a family of 4 individuals, kids 16 to 8 that just lost their mother, it just reinforces how hard we need to keep working at it. Because there's nothing like that, walking up to a family and having to deal with that. So I would say that, I would echo all this, what these guys say, let's stay in the community, let's all work together, let's collaborate, and again, just be strong, and I will also say stay with the youth. You're going to hear me say that throughout the night.
Jacob Bowman.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with these gentlemen. It sounds like a great program. I am all for programs on rehabilitation and helping people get back to, members of society and members of the community. We all want a good, safe, clean county, and working together with programs like this, if the Sheriff's Department and District Attorney's Office and the judges need to get together and come up with a new program and how we can do some kind of smart justice to make sure we're taking care of everyone in the community, then I'm all for that. And I'm interested to see how this program unfolds and how it works and the actual statistics behind it.
Kevin Big.
All right. I've sat in for the sheriff in several CJCC meetings and their sub-work groups. I'm familiar with the work groups and what they do for the most part. The reality is we have to try something different. We've been putting people in jail for years that were on meth and addicted to meth, and that doesn't seem to stay with them very long once they get out of the system or get out of the jail or the prison. It's a great group focused on steering people in the right direction. It's cleaning up families, and it's steering people the direction they need to be to continue further, so they're honestly they become taxpayers, they become, you know, good citizens, and they continue on with their life and put this behind them. Trying to think, TAD, no, they've changed the acronym on me, but Treatment Alternatives to Detention is one of the work groups I've sat in on as well. I know, you know, it's a collaboration, just so everybody understands what it is. It's the judges, the sheriff, the chief of police. We have a director for the CJCC, and they're all working together with their programs to try and steer these people in the right direction. And the reality is, it may not be real popular, especially for Republicans. Throw them in jail, do something with them, you know, throw away the key. But it's a lot cheaper to keep somebody in counseling. They have to work harder for a year of going through counseling than us paying a jail officer to watch them. And it's significantly cheaper to make them go through the system and get cleaned up. And it's a lot easier, it's a lot more work for them than it is sitting in jail.
Okay, so this time the question will start with Randy Knack. The question is, do you believe the sheriff needs a law enforcement background? Why or why not?
That's a great question for me. I've had a lot of experiences, more experiences than most of these gentlemen up here. However, I've never arrested anybody. That's one thing that we have cops for, and they're all good at what they do. I'm exceptionally good at what I do. I'm good at administration. I'm good at surrounding myself with good people, and I'm good at getting things done. I know how to get things done. I know how to go to Madison and ruffle feathers. I know how to make things happen. 18 of my 20 goals in Menominee have been done. I have a plan for wiping out meth. I would like to implement that plan. If I had 3.5 hours, I'd go into detail on it. But it's so important to have somebody that has the ability to get out and be the conduit between the sheriff's office and the community of Dunn County. It's huge important. You know, these guys are all good. Every one of them would be a great sheriff, without a doubt. I would be a totally different type of sheriff than what anybody else in this room would be. They said I couldn't do the mayor's job, and with the help that I've had, with the city council that I've had, with the people surrounding me, amazing people. I am the boss of 150 people right now, including 30 on the police force. When things don't go right, I'm the fall guy. When things aren't right in the community, they come to me. I am the chief person in charge of the complaints, and I get complaints all the time. And with that, I have my own key to the dump. So I was kind of hoping maybe I'd get my own key to the jail. I don't know if that's possible or not, but I would like to work with these guys. You know, I want to be a partner with them. And with my abilities, I think I could do an outstanding job. So I think there's a reason why the sheriff is an elected position and not promoted from within. An elderly lady told me once, it's kind of like a scoop of gravy that's too thick. It tastes good, but it just kind of sits there. You're the thinner, the catalyst that makes it go. Thank you.
Thank you. I won't stand up here and tell you that nobody that has not had any law enforcement experience could not do the job. But what I would say is that the experiences that you have over years of service, dealing with families, people, crashes, domestics, going into any kind of active shooter kind of thing, I think is very beneficial. And just from the standpoint of, if you've had experience in something, when you go out there, you'll have an idea how to deal with it. You'll have information that you've stored, and I think it's very important that you have it. And again, I'm not going to sit up here and say if you didn't have experience you can't do it, but I think it's very beneficial. I think also that one of the things in crimes, when you're investigating crimes, there's a lot of things that go into them. I would look at it from this perspective too, just a little bit. Again, not that they couldn't do it, but I think if you had somebody that did not have a background, that's not certified, has not done it, I think you're almost giving up a position, and you're not going to have that. So where do you get that position? Where do you're losing a position? So that's how I feel about it.
To answer the question, absolutely not. You do not need to have a law enforcement background. When you guys vote for an elected sheriff, it's that elected position, so we have a voice in what goes on in the department. I mean, we have quite a few cops working for us on the department and in the Menominee Police Department, and they're very good at what they do, and they do police very well. The sheriff position, though, is something a little different. It's not necessarily the same role as what a deputy has. It's that one position. You get one position in the sheriff's department that you get to decide on. And in my opinion, you want it to be somebody of the community, somebody from here. If you think about it, there's about 45,000 people in the county, and there's a lot less cops. So do you want your sheriff to represent, you know, more so on the policing side, or do you want it to be a representative of the person of your community? So that's personally how I feel. I don't believe a deputy would do a bad job. Like I said, I just don't think it's quite the same role. The sheriff is supposed to be for the public so that we have some say in which direction the actual sheriff is going, or the department is going. So I do thank you.
All right, I'm not going to beat this to death much, but yes, the sheriff should have some law enforcement background. We're short-staffed now. We fight for every position we have, and sometimes at 3 a.m. the sheriff needs to be in that stack, going through the door and being a real cop.
I would agree with Kevin. We have a department of 21 patrol deputies, cover 880 square miles. The sheriff is integral in being part of that department. We have support staff, we have sergeants, we have jail staff. Needs to be familiar with all that. I would not like to work for somebody, because 80% of the phone calls that come to the sheriff's office, the business side, is, can I speak with the sheriff? And they're asking the sheriff, Deputy so-and-so did this, was he justified in doing it? I guess if the sheriff is not aware what that deputy is justified in doing or able to do, I don't think he can pass judgment or pass that on. And people look to the sheriff to be able to do those things. I've seen our sheriff do many hard things, pass on death notices. We need to have an understanding. And we are a small agency. We're not a large agency. I think we're the second lowest staffed agency in the state for population. So the sheriff is an integral. He needs to be active in his department. He can't just administrate. We don't have 300 deputies to manage and lots of office staff and a large jail to manage. Those are administrative positions. Just we need to have a sheriff that is aware and can do the job.
Okay, that question got some action. This one will put us all to sleep. But budgeting, and we'll start at the end of the table here with Rod. What is your experience in developing and monitoring a budget?
Well, as you know, as being here for 32 years, I have not been part of the administration, but what I do know is we have a budget of $6.9 million, which is split between the sheriff's office and the jail, which I believe is 3.6 and 3.4, somewhere in that area. I'm not privy to all that information. Running a budget is a huge thing, but 80% of our budget is wages and benefits, so that takes care of itself, I would say, as far as the budget itself. You have the sheriff's office. You're going to have, your vehicle maintenance, which is approximately, I believe, $30,000 to $35,000 a year. You're going to have like your fuel, your clothing, your uniform allowances, and you're also going to have what they call your capital expenditures, is which when you buy vehicles, they're under a state mandate. It's not taken out of the general budget. So in the jail, you're dealing with, your health and medical. They have a private contractor that does that. That comes in and works with the inmates, whether it's just for medical stuff or for mental health. I believe if they go to see a nurse, they have a $5 charge, and that is put towards that, towards the budget. If somebody gets out of jail, I believe how it works is if they're not paying things, that it goes on a tax roll and they'll collect it that way. So that's kind of a little bit of what I know about it. But I think if you sit down and work with somebody, you can do that quite easily.
Jacob Ullman.
So with my background being in agriculture and having some farming experience, I did own my own herd of 46 Holsteins, and there was very little control on the income side of it because your price was determined by essentially somebody else. So that's a very tricky budget to manage, as every farmer here knows in the county, and it's very difficult. Moving on from that, I was a maintenance manager and a production manager for about 3.5 years, and in maintenance we did have expenses like uniforms and things that we were held accountable to. And if you go to pretty much just about any kind of company and work for, you find that the maintenance department's generally a smaller department, so the production is always the largest department. So they're generally the ones in charge of the actual budgeting for the whole building. So maintenance doesn't really get their budget. They have to really struggle to justify it until something breaks down, and then all of a sudden we're able to get some money. But being held accountable to very high standards from a production capacity on how we're spending our maintenance management budget was definitely a interesting task that I had. As well as now currently having my own small business, that's a whole nother capacity that I'm sure a few people here probably know if they have their own small business. I'm sure Randy does with his advertising business. Again, that's a tax accountability thing too, making sure we have our Wisconsin tax ID and we're properly filing our taxes and holding ourselves accountable to a good management of finances and budgeting. So I'm very interested to see the Sheriff's Department's revenues and expenses and make sure that we're fiscally responsible and what we're spending our money on.
Very familiar with the budget process with the Sheriff's Office. The Chief Deputy, the Sheriff, and I sit down every year. Actually, we've been just going through it to try and prepare for next year. The budget process is always kind of an interesting thing with the county board. We want 5 squad cars and they'll only give us money for 3. So, so we kind of have to make do with what we can, and that's the reality. They're being responsible county board members for you taxpayers. So we don't try and shoot the moon, but we give them what realistically we want to try and plan out for the next year. We're in a position right now that we've got 4 squads that are going to be rolling over 150,000 miles very soon, and I got 3 squad cars to replace them with. So it's kind of a shell game sometimes when you don't get the money in the budget that you ask for, but you have to do with what you can. We try and look ahead and try and plan out, if we need 2 new tasers next year, it's $1,200 each. We try and plan ahead. A taser, I'm sure you're not real familiar with them, hopefully most of you aren't. They're an electronic device, and sometimes they just go bad and it costs more to fix them than it is to just buy a new one. So you kind of have to plan ahead for each device. Radar units, I replace radar units about 1 or 2 a year. Camera systems and other things like that in the squad cars, we do the same thing. So we shoot for our budget for what we would ideally like to have, and the county board says, can't have that much money. So we scratch and come back, and I check it nearly daily about what I have left to spend out of my budget for the property, county property that I purchase out of that. Thank you.
And that was Kevin Big. I was reminded that I'm not remembering to say everybody's name at each point.
Would you like us to do that?
That would be good. Or I can do it. Adam Zukowski.
As far as budgeting goes, 80% of it, like Rod said, is wages. I'm familiar with that part as I bargain contracts with the county. We do comparables, and we've always been low or mid to low on our comparables with our counties. We try to keep our wages competitive. Try to keep competitive so we can retain people and keep good people with our agents. It's harder and harder to find people, come do this job. There's a lot of private industry that is paying close to what we make. So I am familiar with the budgeting somewhat, day to day as far as equipment, things like that. Kevin's by far more familiar with that. Previous sheriff wasn't involved in any of the budgeting as well either, so it's a learning curve as far as budgeting goes, but I do understand some of it, and I have been involved with some of the decisions on wages and insurance and things like that for the deputies.
Randy Karak.
Hi, I'm very good at numbers. I took over my dad's business when he passed away of a heart attack at age 19. Then we had up to 20 employees, so we had payroll, we had taxes, we had people going bankrupt on us. We could have $1 million years and break even. So I spent time on the school board, 6 years on the school board. I was very involved in the financial aspect of the school district. Margaret Bryce was amazing. Her numbers were spot on, and I learned those numbers from her. And with that, you know, we had to deal with an administration that wasn't always quite so friendly. But also, the city of Menominee is, with 150 employees, there's a lot of budgeting that's going on, and I'm in the thick of that. And with that, we're, in the last couple of years, my administrator and I got together and I said, you know, we have to do something about this. We have to be able to save the taxpayers some money. So I want you to take a look at all the finances, all the borrowed money, all the long-term debt. We need to take a look at refinancing our long-term debt. We need to take a look at rolling in as much money as we can to pay off our debt. And with that, we've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we also implemented our fire department now is paramedics. And they brought in over $1 million last year on service calls, which would have went to Gold Cross and so forth. And with the extra monies that we had originally been paying off, we are now paying off nearly $2 million a year in long-term debt. Menominee will be debt-free by 2030, and then you will see a drastic tax decrease. So I'm very good at numbers and very good and very aware of budgets. So I would not have a problem. Any of the questions regarding budget, not a problem from my concern.
Rod Dykus.
You already answered it.
See, I knew that was going to happen eventually.
You could go again, but I get
TV or a red ball or something. Okay, so we will be starting then again with Jacob Coleman. And I passed on this question a few minutes ago, but I think it's a good one to address, maybe not quite the way it's worded. I'm so sorry. You know what, the thing is sliding down. The way the question reads, do you think there should be any restrictions on the sale of automatic weapons? And if so, what restrictions would you support?
So I'm not 100% sure on the clarity of that question. Automatic weapons is in fully automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons, but I do sell firearms. That is my small business. I do think we have a very good background checking program and a restriction program currently to make sure that we are selling guns to the right people. I can tell you because with interviewing with the ATF and working with those organizations that regulate this, they make it very clear that they do have to pass the 4473 background check form, and they do need to be vetted by the NICS program that the FBI conducts, that they are capable of possession of firearm. But that being said, that doesn't mean it's always right. It's up to that FFL holder like myself, the person actually selling the gun and handing it over, to make sure that they are comfortable handing that gun over to them. I will never sell a gun to somebody I don't feel can possess a firearm, in my opinion. That's a sole decision that's made by the FFO holder, regardless of whether or not they pass the background check. If they pass it and I don't feel comfortable selling them a gun, I won't sell it to them. But as far as the fully automatic, the class 3 type weapons, that's a pretty extensive background check as well to make sure that those weapons are getting into the right hand. And again, that's the same mentality you got to have, making sure that those people are safe and qualified and I guess okay to possess those firearms. But I do think our current system is very well.
Could you repeat the question? I want to make sure I understand it correctly.
I will. I don't think it's quite as, well, anyway. I'm not going to editorialize. Do you think there should be any restrictions on the sale of automatic weapons? It's not working?
You
just have to eat it.
Oh my gosh, it's hitting my teeth. Do you think there should be any restrictions on the sale of automatic weapons? And if so, what restrictions would you support?
Well, yeah, I assume, I guess I don't, like Jacob, semi-automatic weapons versus fully automatic weapons are two completely different worlds. But I don't support bump stocks that make semi-automatic weapons into fully automatic weapons. There is no purpose for them. I've taught firearms for 20 years, both in the department and at Chippewa Valley Technical College, and we don't support fully automatic weapons in law enforcement. You're accountable for every round that comes out of the tube, and that's just reality. Military has a purpose for them. I don't think there's a purpose for them in law enforcement. They're fun to shoot. They're kind of an ammo waster, but other than that, I think there has to be some restrictions, and there are some pretty good restrictions in place for who has access to those firearms. There are some backgrounds. The FFLs have to be registered with the sheriff, so the sheriff is familiar with who has the federal firearms licenses in Dunn County. So I guess with the question the way it's written, I'm not sure how to answer it any better.
Adam Zukowski. So the fully automatic, I'm going to take the question at face value. Fully automatic weapons are heavily regulated weapon. People just can't go to the store, buy one. You have to go through backgrounds. You have to get tax stamps from the ATF. So if people pass all those and do that, that is their right to possess those firearms. If they meet those qualifications, there's no reason, there's so many regulations already. If they can meet all those, they have the right, under the Constitution, to possess those firearms if they need to. So, I don't know what purpose they'd want them for, but they have the right to.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I don't think anything more than a gun that's used for sporting and or for target practice is necessary, to be honest with you. I'm a sportsman. My father taught me how to shoot a gun when I was a small child. My brother took me hunting several times. I have lots of hunting stories, although I think the last couple of years I've gotten too soft because when the deer lifts his leg or winks at me, it's like, oh, he's too cute to shoot. So I think anything more than a sportsman's arm or a target practice arm is unnecessary, in my opinion.
Just going with
Rod, your name?
Rod Dykes. Nice to meet you. Just going with Kevin and Adam, there is a lot of restrictions on those. I don't think the Second Amendment was written such back that they could foresee what was coming with the automatic weapons, the silencers and the bump stocks and all the magazines. So I think when you go to look at it, I think with all the background checks, I'm an outdoorsman, hunt, fish. You know, you have the armor-piercing body rounds now too, which I think they didn't have that in mind way back then also. But there is a lot of background checking that is done. I don't really see a need for like the bump stocks and the armor-piercing rounds. I think that's well left to the military.
Thank you. Can we have that door propped open over there? Does that prop? That door?
We have a volunteer leaner.
Good. It's getting pretty close in here. Okay. Now, am I starting with Kevin Big? All right. What is your position on ICE, ICE, deputizing local police departments to arrest undocumented immigrants? and there is a section quoted of Immigration and Nationality Act. What is your position on this deputizing of local departments?
I guess I'm confused by the question. They're asking to deputize local police departments to work with ICE, or if you want me to support or not support ICE in their immigration laws. I don't care. I'm pretty certain that most of our ancestors came to this country. They came to this country legally, and that's all I ask. If you're going to be here, be documented. There's lots of jobs out there, but we want to know who you are. Get a social security number, and you know, let us know where you're living, just like everybody else. And that's all we ask.
I think I should clarify the question again. This is a really hot topic nationally, of course. And what the question is as a sheriff, what's your position on deputizing local law enforcement groups to assist ICE to arrest immigrants? I'm not sure if there's a section quoted here, but I'm not familiar with it.
I want to know what they think about this.
Okay.
Answer the question.
So answer the question as it stands.
As I said in my opening, both my parents were immigrants to this country. I have no problem with immigrants. They came here legally. I've had relatives come from Poland to work. They've come on a green card and they've worked. I think that's how we solved it, the immigrant issue, is getting work visas for these people to come, work, make a living for their family. As far as enforcement, I think if they're breaking the law and violating the law and we have them detained in our facility, I think we have to notify ICE that we have an immigrant here that's violated the law. We have them in our facility. It's up to them whether ICE comes to pick them up or not at that point. If they don't come in time, we have to release them. But it's an issue. We have a large Hispanic community within Dunn County that work at the farms, and I know a lot of these farms would struggle without. They provide documentation to the farmers. The farmers can't check with IRS and everybody else to see if those documents are legal. That's just the gist of it. But they provide them documents, they do their check, and they work. So.
Thank you, Adam Zukowski.
Hi, Randy Knack. Just real quick, God created everybody equal, however, the laws are not equal. And if the laws are not made correctly, then it's really tough for these guys to do their jobs. And I would agree, if there's an individual out there that's causing trouble, then we need to be able to get to the bottom of it, know who they are, where they are, what they're all about, and then take action. But as it stands now, you know, I don't know enough about it really to elaborate much more than that, other than, you know, my grandparents were immigrants, and a lot of yours were too. So maybe a little bit more thought process on the whole issue would be good.
Yeah, Rod Dykes, if I understood the question right, it talked about deputizing or making other subgroups go out and arrest people. That's not something I would be interested in. It's something that we would deal with as a sheriff's office. Again, if like these guys have said, if they come here legally, we're a lot of immigrant families, we're all part of that. If it's something where they've committed a crime, that's something that has to be addressed. But as far as going out and deputizing other people or cultures or whatever, however you want to phrase it, no, I would not be in favor of that.
Jacob Ullman here. I do agree with Dykes. As far as deputizing, if I'm understanding the question right, as far as deputizing our local deputies to go out and address this issue, no. Our deputies are our local deputies for our local community. Their responsibility is to us. That being said, will we work with ICE? Absolutely. We need to work with every government agency. It's our responsibility to maintain that locality, because if we're not working with certain government agencies who's not working with somebody else, then we're not working together, and then it causes more issues down the road. So yeah, to understand that question fully, I think I would need more information, as we all would, but I would not take our deputies and swear their allegiance to a different government agency. They're for us. That's their responsibility. It's our community first, Dunn County. But we would work with ICE.
Okay. This microphone, all right. Am I starting this time with Adam Zukowski? What will you do to ensure deputies are better suited to address mental health issues in the communities of Dunn County?
Mental health is also a major topic. We have deputies that we're starting to train for crisis intervention. To be able to evaluate, back when I started, the deputies did all the evaluating. We currently now make a phone call to Northwest. They speak with the people, they do an evaluation, they give us a recommendation, and we also provide a recommendation. But under the law, ultimately the deputies make the final choice on whether somebody gets to go to the hospital. And ultimately, we like to try to get people to voluntarily seek help at their choice. Get people to talk to them, to get them to seek help and get the resources they need. We are the first line when it comes to that. People call us, or they call somebody, and then they call us to respond to those areas. We deal with mental health frequently. Like when I first started, the jail was the jail, and it was a drunk tank or whatever. Now there's a lot of mental health that comes into our jail, and to me, that's not the place for them. They need to get treatment and help for their issues.
Randy Knack. Oh, I would totally agree, Adam. Mental health is a major issue, especially with the drugs that we have nowadays and so forth and so on. A lot of times, mental health and a patient becomes an inmate, and that's not the correct place for a person that's got mental health issues. And these guys have got their hands full when it comes to mental health and drugs and all that goes on in the county. So I think just the reinforcement of working with the other community partners, the other county agencies, is so important. And I think they're doing a great job with it as we speak. I don't know exactly a lot of ins and outs regarding that. However, I know that mental health is a big issue within the county.
Rod Dykus?
I would agree with what we talked about here. I can recall a story probably 2 years ago. I had a 13-year-old that was cutting her wrist. We got it all set up. She made it over to Luther Hospital, and the next day I saw her out in the same location, so I stopped and talked to her, and I said, well, what happened? She said, well, I was there for about 3 or 4 hours in the ER room. Nobody really talked about anything or with me about anything, and at some point I just went. I left, or they picked me up. So there's a lot of agencies and issues that it's a tough thing. Mental health is up there, and if you mix it with some of the methamphetamines and the drug stuff that's going on, it makes it that much tougher. We're, I would say, almost overwhelmed. Like Adam said, we used to handle it all ourselves. We have these connections with the agencies like Northwest and that. But I think staying involved. She did say, which was a good part of this story, that she went to another facility and she got the help she needed. But it's a tough deal out there, and the thing is, it's not going away. We're going to have to deal with it. We got to, whether it's with Human Services, the hospitals, all agencies involved there, with the Menominee PD. We just got to keep working at it, and working at it hard.
Jacob Ullman.
Yes, I do agree. Mental health is a big issue in the county, and I'm not sure what they are training new deputies or members coming out of the police academy on how to address mental health currently. That is a good subject to, again, address and look at and make sure we are doing the best thing. I have absolutely no issue working with other counties or other specialists, or even maybe contracting out with some third party to get some training or some advice on public health, because again, you know, deputies are trained very well in various situations, but unfortunately they need to be trained in a broad sense, and we might have to look at starting a program or getting some advice on how to address this issue from some specialists that are you know, willing and certified or very, very capable of dealing with these issues. So yes, I do agree. We do need to take that very seriously.
Kevin Big.
All right, to answer the question specifically, CIT training is training that I have about a third of my patrol staff through. We've been sending, they only have about 2 or 3 of them around the area a year, so every chance I get a chance, I send 2 people off the schedule to every one of those trainings, and eventually our goal is to get everybody trained. It's a week-long specific training on how to deal with people with mental health issues, how to interact with them, how to respond to them, how to de-escalate issues, things like that. So about a third of our patrol staff is trained now. I kind of initially sent it out as a first come, first serve, who wants to volunteer for this a couple years ago. And every time a school comes up, I send as many people as I can off the patrol schedule. So that's how we're dealing with it and providing the training to our deputies.
Okay, next question. We'll start with Randy Knack. Can you speak to school safety?
Well, school safety is very important. You know, the city of Menominee has co-sponsored a youth services officer in our schools, and the school district is looking for support in a second youth services officer. I would like to invite the townships and the county to share in that youth services officer, put up some monies, help the city of Menominee, help the school district, be involved. School safety right now is, I had a meeting 2 weeks ago with the school district administrator, and right now if a teacher has a child, you cannot restrain that child, you can't touch that child, you can't do anything with that child. However, the officer that's in the school has the ability to restrain that child and bring that child under control. So it's a new age, it's a brand new age, and I totally support school safety and a youth services officer. The financing part is always the tricky part. I would really like to see the county get in abroad, because there's schools out in the country, and me being mayor, you know, we're kind of allocated to funding the schools within the city, and that's a problem for us. So I would like a broader spectrum of involvement in school safety, but absolutely it's one of the most important aspects of protecting our children and their future lives.
Rod Dykus.
I would say too, also to that, school safety is a huge issue, you know, in the county. I think for us, so, and I think Kevin or Adam might speak to it, you know, just sheer numbers. We are fortunate enough that in Elk Mound, Boyceville, and Colfax, that they do have local law enforcement in there, so if something takes place, that hopefully they're in the area quick. I would say this, one of the things I would like to what I would like to do if I was sheriff is put together a threat assessment team. That would be with the schools and collaborating with human services, law enforcement, and the schools, all the way down to a teacher, because I'm here to tell you, they know, the staff knows what's going on with a kid or a student. So if we get that information, let's go talk to that kid, let's go talk to those parents, let's assess if there's any weapons in the house, let's see where they're going to go with it. And also out in the county, same thing. If we get a call on somebody and we're dealing with somebody, let's go talk to them. Let's get an assessment done. The school stuff is near and dear to my heart, just being in the schools, but as well as all of you and everybody here who's had children. So, but it's going to take a collaborative effort. and it's going to take more than just somebody saying, no, I don't want to do it this way, we're going to do it that way. You got to sit down at the table and you got to do what's best for the kids, and that's how I think about it.
Jacob Ullman.
I do agree that our school safety is a very big concern, especially with what we see in the media. Everyone is very concerned about the safety of their children. One thing I don't know if public safety officers, I'm sure they're good, or a school safety officer, having someone there on site is great. I'm not sure if that's an affordable option or not, but definitely I know I really want myself, and I want the officers of the Dunn County Sheriff's Department, I want to make sure that we try to get to these schools, work with these schools, and even if it's just walking through the school and making sure we know how the layout of the school actually is, because I have not been in all the high schools in the county. I haven't been in Colfax or especially Menominee, a larger school. If I had to respond to an incident there, getting lost is one thing I don't want to happen to either myself or any of the deputies responding to an incident there. So making sure that we're aware, working very closely with the administrative staff in the school boards, or even the teachers, to making sure that we can keep our kids safe in the school.
Kevin Big.
All right, school safety, one of my #1 priorities. I'm the chair of the Safe Schools Committee for Dunn County. I meet 3 times a year with a representative from each one of the schools. They decide who they send. In a lot of cases, it's the school administrator that comes, because they're very passionate about what goes on in their school. We meet 3 times a year. Rodney makes it when he can, and with his DARE schedule. We sit down and we talk about what's going on in our schools, and their #1 chief complaint right now is the mental health issues with these kids that they're dealing with. But we work on locking systems, camera systems, anything you can think of. Everything that comes across my desk related to school safety. The 4 main administrators of schools in Dunn County are sick and tired of hearing from me. You know, I shoot it out to them. Here's another idea on how to secure your doors better. They're like, yeah, thanks, Kevin. I'm sure they don't have enough on their plate already, but I keep bombarding them with it. I'm an ALICE instructor. Alert, lockdown, inform, counter, evacuate is what ALERT stands for. So I just realized I'm talking with this hand a lot. I'm sorry. That is what we teach our staff in our schools. I go to churches, I go to businesses, and we do an evaluation. We look at the business and we look at a safe escape route. Sometimes the best option is to evacuate the school. I'll give you a short story. I got about 20 seconds left. Virginia Tech. One classroom locked down. 17 people died in that classroom. The classroom across the hall. Teacher was a Holocaust instructor. Decided to evacuate, smashed the windows out from the 2nd floor. Only 2 people died from that classroom. So you empower your teachers to make the best decisions to save your kids' lives.
Adam Zukowski.
School safety is a priority. Our department's been very proactive at it. All our deputies carry maps. We all have keys to every school. So if there is a lockdown situation, we can get in. We are very proactive. We just don't know where it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So the training Kevin provides, we have another instructor as well. They go to the schools and teach the ALICE training to the schools. Very good program. As deputies in the police department, we train frequently together about active shooters and not just schools, but in businesses and 3M or wherever. We never know where it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. So to assure you, we are prepared. We are, it's going to take the school to do a little more, maybe. They just received grants. Boyceville, Elk Mound, and Menominee received school safety grants from the Attorney General's office through their grant, so they can beef up bring up their security. But we have forethought and we have prepared for that kind of situation.
Okay, I have one more question here, and then we will give each of these candidates 3 minutes up to 3 minutes to make a closing statement. So this question is directed first to Rod Dykus. What do you consider the 2 major strengths in the Sheriff's Department, and similarly, 2 major needs?
Well, starting with the strengths, I think we are a community-oriented sheriff's office. I think for the most part we work together. I mean, we have our differences. I think you're going to have that wherever you go. I would say also equipment is kind of high on the list. I would say some of the weakness or some things that we need to work on is we all kind of need to be on the same level as how things, I shall say, are run or treated. You're going to have those differences, but I think we need to know and let our employees know that they're valued, what they do is important. I think that's something we can work on. And I also think that as far as dealing with individuals, I think if there's a problem, if something's going on that you think that you want to, as an administration, talk to somebody or discipline them, don't wait until 8 months or 6 months down the road and say, well, this was a problem. Pull them in your office, talk to them, get it figured out right away. And then if it doesn't work, then we'll deal with it as it goes. But I think that's a couple of things that I would go with.
Okay, Jacob Oman.
So as far as strengths go, I think we do have a lot of experience in our Dunn County Sheriff's Department. Just the gentlemen at this table have over half a century of experience just between them. So we definitely have a lot of experience, a lot of personal relationships that were made over those years of experience. So I really do think we have a very experienced department in policing this community. I also do think they are very committed. We do have some very committed law enforcement officers that really do care about what goes on around here, and because it is their home too. Weaknesses, however, I do think there is always something you can bring new to the department. You always need to be adding in something else, kind of get that change going, because if you kind of stay stale for too long, you get stagnant and you kind of get in a repetitive motion. So I really think we can bring some new perspective into the department. It never hurts to get a fresh pair of eyes. I'm sure everyone here has experienced it where they walk around their house 100 times looking for their car keys, and then your friend or your wife or your husband walks through the door and they see it in 30 seconds, they're right there. So you definitely want something new just to kind of break up the monotonous of it. And as well as a management kind of skill too, because it is a responsibility. Definitely want, I guess, some accountability behind it all as well. So those are kind of my thoughts on strengths and weaknesses. Thank you.
Kevin Bigd.
All right, 2 major strengths of our agency are first of all our people, the people that work there, our patrol staff, our jail staff. We're fortunate that we have the great employees that we have. You can look at some other agencies that, wow, they're dealing with that again. You know, oofta. We're very fortunate. So our people are our strongest strength. They make the department from bottom to top. Our training and equipment, okay, that's kind of 2, so that's 3. But our training and equipment are 2 other big advantages we have. I think we do a lot of internal great training in deputies, our field training process. I will put against any other agency in the state of Wisconsin right now. If they don't know it, when they're done with field training, they know where to find it, and Scott McRoberts will make sure of that. And I'll talk about needs a little more, probably a little more shuffle of responsibilities within the agency. Personally, I'd like to get half the stuff off my plate and pass it downhill, but sometimes that comes with the position. But I also want to make our agency a little more inclusive of including everybody. We used to have staff meetings, and they kind of turned into gripe sessions and butt chewings and things like that, and we need to get back to them. I proposed that when I came in as a sergeant. It kind of got shot down. That'll never work. It'll just be this again. We need to get everybody from top to bottom involved. The lowest guy in the totem pole might have the best solution to the problem. So, out of time.
Adam Zukowski.
Couple things we do well. I think we handle the public in our public view. We take our calls, we respond to the public, we do a good job at doing it. I think everyone's satisfied generally. Speak maybe not when you get a ticket or something, but in general, people are satisfied with the job we do. The other strength we have is equipment. We are equipped very well for an agency this size. We travel, we see other agencies. I think we're equipped really well. Some of our weaknesses, one is taking care of our people. Giving them a thank you, good job. We try to do that amongst our, amongst the ranks, but, just to hear it from above us, a thank you and a good job once in a while. Even recognize somebody for 10 years of service. We appreciate it. Thank you. Those kinds of things. Also mental health for our employees. We see the dark side of society all the time. And I think I want to see everybody retire happy. I want them to go on, enjoy their retirements. Alcoholism is huge in law enforcement, huge. And I want to see people be happy, enjoy their retirement, they earned it. I think we can do a better job getting them there. That's a big thing to me, taking care of our people. They're our foundation, we got to build on them.
Randy Knack.
Okay, the two strengths, I think the Sheriff's Department, the guys and gals, do a tremendous job. There's a certain unity there, and they work well with the other departments and the other departments heads, the city Menominee, UW Stout, so forth and so on. I think that's a great strength. I think that they also are comrades, and so you back up your brother, I mean, your fellow officer, and I think they're there to do that. I think that they give the entire department the support they need. But as far as weaknesses, I'd like to see a little bit more transparency. I would also like to see something happen with sex trafficking and other issues too along the way. A report card maybe that the officers could hand out at the end of a ticket saying, hey, this goes right back to the sheriff. I want to get a report on just how you handled the situation. Things along those lines. There isn't a 100% perfect answer, but I think we have an outstanding group of individuals right now in the Sheriff's Department, and I would like to just add to that in the future.
Okay, so this is working out quite neatly. We will now start with Jacob Oman. Reverse and closing. We could do that. You want to go last, huh? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so that would mean we would start with Rod Dykus and come back this way, and you have up to 3 minutes to close.
Okay, before I forget this, thanks for coming. Just a couple things that I would like to mention in closing is some of the things that I would like maybe to change or implement if I was elected sheriff. One of the things I don't think we need to have as a sheriff, a chief deputy, and a captain is new vehicles. I believe we need good vehicles, but we don't need new vehicles. Those vehicles, that money saved there should go to patrol or for training. I also believe that in promotions within the department, as far as supervisory staff, I would like to see us have a committee and an outside committee so we stay, as I'll say, keep it a fair process. I would also like to say that, again, I mentioned it earlier, I wanted to have a threat assessment team put together for mental health purposes, and I think that's very important. I would like to meet annually with the town boards. They, patrolmen, they know, they see, they get a lot of information. I think that's, and I don't think that's too much to ask. I also want to incorporate a program called Dining with the Deputy. A lot of times we hear the stories about kids that are, one kid does something wrong and everybody hears about it, but the kids that are out there doing the good things, we don't hear about it. So I'd like to incorporate that, have the community get involved, let's send in a kid's name and information, and have lunch with a sheriff or a deputy they so choose on the sheriff's dime. Also, I guess what I'd like to say in closing, a couple things. First of all, to the employees of the Dunn County Sheriff's Office, I think there's 3 pillars that I would like to leave with you tonight. Number 1, we need to build trust. Trust isn't given, it's earned. And I need to earn your trust if I'm able to lead. You all will have a seat at the table when there's things to be talked about. 2, I believe it's my job to motivate you. There's a lot of you on this department that have more skills than I could ever think about. I need to motivate you to apply those skills. Last, you will be valued. When things go wrong, you might get firm, you might get talked to, but when you do a good job, it is my job to let you know that you did a good job, because days get tough out there. And in closing, a couple things my dad always told me. He said, when you go somewhere, leave it a little better than when you got there. And he also said that I don't care how much money you make, or you have or you don't have, treat people with respect, and that'll go a long way. So thank you. I will tell you this, if it does not go the way I would prefer it to go, on August 15th, or no, let me say, on August 15th, or November 7th, I will wake up, I will dust myself off, and I will come with the same passion that I have for the last 32 years to serve you. So thank you.
Well, again, thank you all for coming. I think I'd be an excellent conduit to the community, to the Sheriff's Department. The camaraderie of all these guys, I think it would be important to show up at the very first meeting with a box of donuts and say, hey, I'm one of you guys, and we want to work together, and we've got a number of goals. I would have a list of goals to achieve that is probably second to none. I think Dunn County is my home and it's God's country, and all of you are enjoying Dunn County, and I would just want to make it as best as I can. My wife did put me on a budget, so I'm not having a sign war, even though I have my own company to make signs, but it's my wife's fault if you don't see a lot of signs out there. And I want to thank Jacob too for coming and getting pricing on signs. Appreciate that very much. So, and you guys, you know, if you need some more signs, I can certainly help you all out. So, in closing, I just really, I would respect the office of Sheriff very much, as I do the opportunity and the office of Mayor. And all you folks out there in the audience tonight are who the Sheriff and the Sheriff's Department serves. And I would just be thrilled to have the opportunity to serve you in that compassion. Capacity. Yeah, you know how that last word really gets you? That's one of them. So, again, thank you everybody for being here tonight.
I'd like to thank you for putting on this forum, allowing us to get our voice out to be heard. I appreciate everybody coming to hearing what we all have to say tonight. This county is facing, to me, four major issues. Meth is number one. Without a doubt, we need to take care of this problem. Fix our community and get it healthier. It'll always probably be there. Hopefully new problems don't crop up, but it'll always be there. It's going to take a community to do it, but we can get it done. We need to take care of our employees. I'm passionate about the employees. I've been representing them for a long time, and it's always about the people, and I want to see that we can do more for those people. This is a calling to do government work, and working, it's not a rewarding job. You don't want to go to every domestic and every bar fight or traffic crash, or involves in a fatality, or go tell somebody. That is not but it's a calling to do that kind of work. And you need to take care of the employees that are called to do that. It's a tough job, and I feel passionate about taking care of it. I read an article the other day, and I believe it applies to the job as sheriff. We are there to serve our people to make sure that they can get the job done. And anything they need, we will, the sheriff needs to be there to give them what they need so they can accomplish what they get done. So, thank you for having me.
Kevin Big.
All right, I'll try not to take my full 3 minutes here. It's kind of getting hot. All right, in my 29 years of career here with Dunn County, I've served the people of Dunn County with common sense, courage, and compassion, and that's what I would ask of my staff. Those are the three heart and soul values of a good law enforcement officer, jail officer, anybody in the position. You entrust the sheriff with $6 million, a little bit more, and 60 people to try and make your communities and your schools safe, and it is his, and hopefully mine eventually, responsibility to do that in the most effective way possible and efficient way possible, and that is my goal. Coincidentally, employee assistance programs comes up. I've been working on an employee assistance program, trying to get the entire county involved in it, and I will, hell or high water, have an employee assistance program for the sheriff's office employees. It's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's what my wife does for a living. I understand EAP, and I'm fortunate that those traumatic things that I've experienced in 29 years haven't stuck with me. I don't lose sleep over it. But we have employees that do, and they need to almost be pushed sometimes to say, you know what, you're going to go see somebody. If you really don't want to, I understand that, but currently our EAP service for Dunn County, the policy is literally about that long. If you have a problem, notify the county manager, he'll determine the best practice for you. That's not the way EAPs work. So it's been my goal. I've been working on it for about 4 years, and believe it or not, we're actually taking bids on it now. So the whole county, not just the sheriff's office. But I just want to remind people that I'm the only candidate in this race that has any management, law enforcement experience. I've been doing it for a long time. Rod's very good at what he does. He's a great DARE instructor. Adam's a great humane deputy. I'm good at managing people, money, vehicles, and the equipment that goes along with it. So I ask for your vote on August 14th, and again on November 6th to elect me Sheriff of Dunn County.
And Jacob Oman.
All right, I'd like to wrap up thanking you guys for all coming out, League of Women Voters as well. Remember, you get one voice in the Sheriff's Department, one. All right, so you have to choose very carefully if you want a person of the community that it represents you very well. Again, you know, being that I have that farming background, I grew up here, I was born in this county, I have absolutely no intention of leaving this county. This is my home. I have more blood, sweat, and tears soaked up into the earth here from everywhere, from picking iron and milking cows, I can assure you. I was a manager for several years, and if you've ever been a manager or know your manager, you know very well that they put in a lot of hours, and trust me, they've all done the math. The hourly rate versus what their salary is, it's not a whole lot different. They don't go to work and put in all those extra hours if they don't truly care about the people they're leading. So that's another thing to consider, and not to mention the small business. Like I said, I set it up shop here. This is where I'm from. I think it's funny, Mr. Knack talking about managing a budget. I did finance my own campaign. I'm not collecting campaign dollars. My goal is to save you money. So I'm not going to print thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of signs saying that I want to save you money and then ask for a donation to pay for it. So I want to save you money. That is my goal. With the management experience and the farming experience, I know how far a dollar can go. I do have one thing too as well. While I was out campaigning, knocking on doors, getting signatures, I only made one campaign promise, and it about broke my heart. I knocked on this door and it was a little girl, about 8 years old, and I told her who I was. I'm Jake Holman. I'm running for sheriff, and is one of your parents home? And she gets her mother, and I explained to her mother, I'm running for sheriff. I'm collecting signatures to get on the ballot to have the opportunity to represent you. And the little girl turns to her younger brother and says, wow, a sheriff. I just met a sheriff. and I looked at her and I said, well, no, I'm not a sheriff, not yet. I'm looking for the opportunity to become sheriff. And the look in her eyes, and she just got instantly kind of let down and disappointed. So I'm going to ask the 4 gentlemen up here with me, whether it's me that gets elected sheriff or one of them 4, let's keep that promise and let's go back and see that little girl. So, thank you.
Okay, I want to point out to you that we have just heard from 5 very excellent candidates for sheriff of Dunn County. Let's give them a hand. And then I want to point out to you gentlemen that we have a number of dedicated people here who put up with a little sweat themselves tonight to listen to what you have to say and to find out what kind of people you are, that they might make a choice between you. So I'd like to hear you give them a hand. And finally, before you all get up to leave, we do have some public witnesses here. We have the Dunn County News, and we have Channel 18, and we have a blogger named Steve Henson from Colfax Messenger. Oh, Colfax Messenger? Ah, I didn't see you. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, yes, Colfax Messenger too. So we are on. We are. Leader Telegram too. Yes, we are on the record tonight. And